Hey guys, this is Designs for Noble Desktop, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this cool audio bar screen transition in Adobe After Effects. So we'll be starting off with making an audio spectrum effect, which is what will give our transition that dancing look. After adjusting those settings, we're going to add a Minimax effect to have it animate and cover the screen. Then it's a Posterize Time effect and a gradient ramp to add some visual flair. Finally, we'll create a grid and have it be a track mat for our audio spectrum layer to make it look like actual audio bars. Oh, and we'll add a glow effect at the end just to make it look more digital. So you can see this is what the project looks like when it's done. And so if you don't know, screen transitions or wipes in general are really good for making cuts or jumps in your scene. They help direct the viewer's eye toward whatever you want them to see and make scene changes feel smoother. Anything that covers the screen makes a pretty good transition effect. In this case, the screen wipe we're making today has a cool cyber kind of feel to it, which lends itself well to any projects based around technology, audio, or anything urban. And so, in terms of external assets, for this project, we're going to be using a particular music track from bensound.com, and these A and B screens you can see here for our jump cut. These are all going to be available for download below in the description, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to be doing is head up here, we're going to make a new solid. Thank you very much. And let's name this solid Audio Spectrum. Audio Spectrum. You can probably guess what this is going to turn into. The color doesn't really matter. We're going to be heading over to the Effects and Presets panel here and type in Audio Spectrum. Add it to our new our new solid over here. Completely forgot the word that I just used. And now we're going to be changing a bunch of settings to get it to appear a certain way. So we're going to change the audio layer, the audio source to this MP3 layer that should already be in the layer stack. And basically, what's this is asking, like, okay, so what music, what music track, what soundtrack am I taking my appearance from? And by linking it to this MP3 file right here, it could be like spoken word, anything, just anything with an audio file in it. It's like, oh, so that's the waveform that I'm going to be reacting to. So we've got that set up. And you can mute your audio, whatever audio you're using. Just hit this button over here, the speakerphone looking kind of thing, because we actually don't want the sound of it. We just want the look of it. So now that's done. So we're going to be changing some settings. So start frequency, let's put that at 100, and end frequency at 1100. These are the frequencies that the graphics will react to. So it'll start moving at 100 and stop at 1100 hertz. We're going to set the frequency bands to 50, and we want the maximum height to 1500. We want this thing real tall. It's going to be even taller when we add the Minimax effect later on. Now, this part is optional. It's just a personal preference, but I'm going to set my audio duration to 40 and the audio offset to 30. This is how long the visuals will react to each part of the waveform, and offset delays it by some amount of milliseconds. Finally, we're going to set thickness to 5. That's pretty self-explanatory, and softness to 0 for a nice crisp look. And now we're going to be setting the display options to analog dots. This is what analog lines look like, but we want the dots. Yep. Oh, right. And then side A, so they're only going upwards, you can see. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the audio spectrum itself. And like I mentioned, let's head over to the effects panel again. Let's grab Minimax for our next effect. Now, what Minimax does, it can contract or expand the edges of a layer, in this case, our audio spectrum effect, so it can cover the whole screen. And we're actually going to be keyframing this. So let's move the playhead to the origin over here. And I want to set my Minimax radius to 0. I'm gonna, with my audio spectrum layer selected, I'm gonna hit U to see all my keyframes. Let's move this guy about 1 second in, maybe. 1 second in, come on. Oh, wait, I didn't even realize that I already had my timeline set so I could see 1 second in. And then we're going to hit radius again. So we've got 0 here, 0 here. The idea is that we want it to spike up and then set back to 0. So I'm going to place it somewhere in the middle. And we're going to put this radius up like real high. I want it at 1000. I want it to be very big. And now you may not be seeing anything, but that's because I want to be setting the channel to alpha and color. Whoa, see? That's what we want. That's what we want. So it controls everything in this layer. All right. I'm just going to put don't shrink edges just in case, but you don't have to do that. And then I want to shift select the first and last Minimax keyframes, go to keyframe assistant and easy ease, just to get a bit of a smoother feel to the animation, like that. Okay, now we are going to add a Posterize Time effect, and the reason for that is that I want more of that stuttering, choppy kind of look that you'll see on this kind of, this kind of effect in the real world. So I want a Posterize Time effect. So let's get that over onto our layer. And I want to set the frame rate to 12. So basically what that means, it's running on 2s, which is industry vernacular for 12 frames a second versus the typical 24 or 30 frames per second. Yeah, and it gives it more of a choppy look, which is what I'm going for. And for the color, let's put a gradient ramp on top of it. Gradient ramp right on top of this. And I'm going to go over to my gradient ramp here in effect controls, and I want to change one of the colors to like a nice cyan kind of color. And the other one is like this very intense yellow. I want to move the colors a bit closer together. Like that. I just changed the y-axis on both of these. In fact, I could I could grab it and move it down. Perfect. Okay. And finally, I'm going to zoom out. I controller command minus. And I'm going to pull my whole effect down below here. So next, I'm going to be pulling my effect down below the screen. So when it spikes, it'll cover the whole screen. Although I'm seeing right now it doesn't cover the entire screen, so I'm actually going to change my radius to be even bigger. There we go. Now I've got it at 1200. That'll do it. Okay, great. You know what? I think I actually even want to adjust my yellow color. Whoa. So it's like a little more of a gradient. There we go. Now for the grid. So I'm going to select both my sound layer and the audio spectrum layer, and we're going to turn this into a pre-comp because I want this to be able to have certain effects only available within pre-comp. So I'm going to name it audio spectrum pre-comp, and we're going to double click to go inside of it. Here it is. I'm actually going to expand my timeline a little bit so I could see more of what's going on, hit my keyframes so I could see what the timing is on stuff. Okay, right. So now we want to make it a grid. So we're going to make a new black solid layer. New, solid, and we're going to name this grid. Come on, keyboard, please work. Here we go. And then we're going to type in grid into our effects panel. And we want this to turn into a grid. So you place that grid effect on your new black solid. I'm actually going to color code this so it's like a different color so I can tell which one's a grid, which one's not. And I want to change the color of my grid to black. We're going to be using this thing as a track matte, which means that we want the audio spectrum layer to take its cue from the grid shape, meaning we're going to tell the audio spectrum layer, you can only appear in these certain areas according to this grid layer. And I'll show you what I mean as we go along. We're going to change the border to 10, make it nice and thick. So now that we have our grid in place, we're going to activate this preserve transparency kind of thing. If you don't see it, hit toggle switches and modes. And basically anything that is outside of the audio spectrum layer is going to be essentially cut off. So after that, we head back to our main comp. And we're going to type in a glow in our effects and presets. I already had it typed in, I guess. And we're going to put a glow over our audio pre-comp. And that's just to give it a bit more of a cyber feel. You don't have to do this, but I like it. I'm going to set my glow radius to 15 and the glow intensity to 1.5. That's how I like it. And so the last thing I would do is line up your transition, your screen wipe with your jump cut. So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to navigate to where that cut happens. It's like right here. I'm going to turn on my new screen transition and I'm going to place where it covers the screen right over my jump cut. And so let's see what that looks like. There we go. It's doing what I want it to do. I might actually go back into audio spectrum and like change up where the sound is on the timeline, just because I think that it might be more interesting if it has like a little bit more variation as it animates. But that's pretty much it. And yeah, so like I mentioned, I personally think that this wipe would look great combined with projects revolving around urban areas, nightlife, clubs, music, technology, anything like that. You can feel free to adjust the settings, which track you use for the audio spectrum effect, and the colors, of course. You can use this in conjunction with animated projects, or if you work with live action footage, place it over maybe like a drone video of a city at night or of a musician at a concert. It's, pretty much up to you, just a couple of ideas. And yeah, that's all for this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make your own audio bar transition in Adobe After Effects. If you have any questions or suggestions for future tutorials, let us know in the comments. If you have any motion graphics projects that you're working on, we would love to hear about that. So yeah, this has been Spar Designs for Noble Desktop.